have a 17-year-old, and this particular victim, we have every reason to believe that she was not engaged in any high-risk activity. She was a good kid with a very bright future, and to see her life cut short is heart-wrenching, to say the least.
February 6th, 2023, Brooksville, Florida. Isabella Scavelli is a junior at her local high school, 50 miles north of Tampa. She's not just surviving high school, she's thriving. She plays on the tennis team, her ponytail bouncing as she serves. She's active in the ROTC program, already talking about her future in the military. She wants to serve her country, make something of herself, build a life of purpose. Her tennis coach remembers a girl who lit up every room she entered. A girl whose favorite color was red. A girl who made everyone around her smile. At 17, Isabella has her whole future mapped out. College, military service, a career helping others. But on this Monday afternoon in February, Isabella and her mother, LaShawn Pope, walk into the Hernando County Sheriff's Office with a different mission. Isabella has something to report. Something that happened to her. Something she stayed quiet about for too long, and now she's ready to speak. She tells deputies that a 37-year-old man named Lenard White sexually assaulted her.
A 17-year-old child and one of her relatives went to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office to report a crime. When she went to the sheriff's office that day, she told investigators that she had been sexually assaulted.
The report is filed. A case number is assigned. The wheels of justice begin their slow turn. Isabella and her mother drive home, probably relieved that the hardest part is over, that speaking up was the right thing to do, that now the system will protect her. They have less than 24 hours left together. February 7th, 2023, 11:47 p.m. Isabella and LaShawn are home. It's late, almost midnight on a Tuesday. Most of Brooksville is asleep. The neighborhood is quiet, then someone knocks on their door. Isabella goes to answer. She has no reason to be afraid. She doesn't know that 24 hours is all the time her abuser needed to arrange her murder. She doesn't know that the man standing on her doorstep is there to make sure she never testifies. His name is Sheldon Robinson. He's 22 years old. And before Isabella can speak, before she can ask what he wants or why he's at her door this late, he raises a gun. He fires a barrage of shots into the home. Isabella turns and runs. She's trying to get away, trying to reach safety, trying to survive. The bullet strikes her in the back as she flees deeper into her home. She collapses in her own house. Her mother, LaShawn, is hit multiple times. Bullets tearing through her body in the chaos. She falls to the ground, wounded and helpless, and watches her daughter die.
I know she was going through stuff personally, you could tell, but I never really asked her. She's always like laughing and joking.
Robinson disappears into the darkness. The neighborhood that was so quiet moments before now echoes with screams. When deputies arrive at the scene, they find something that makes their blood run cold. This wasn't a robbery, nothing was stolen. There's no sign of forced entry. No valuables taken, no indication this was random violence. Someone came to this house with one specific purpose: to kill Isabella Scavelli. And whoever sent them wanted to make sure LaShawn couldn't identify them either. This was an execution disguised as a home invasion. LaShawn is barely alive. The paramedics aren't sure she'll make it through the night. Her injuries are severe, life-threatening. Deputies make the decision to airlift her to a hospital in Tampa, racing against time. Every minute counts. Somehow, against all medical odds, LaShawn survives. But survival means living with the memory of watching your daughter die. It means knowing you couldn't save her. It means carrying that moment forever. The Hernando County Sheriff's Office launches a full-scale investigation the moment the call comes in. This isn't routine. This is a 17-year-old girl executed in her home less than 24 hours after filing a sexual assault report. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives joins the investigation immediately. Everyone involved knows this is connected. The timeline is too perfect, too calculated to be coincidence. File a sexual assault complaint on Monday. Die in a hail of gunfire on Tuesday. But knowing something and proving it in court are two very different things. Investigators work around the clock. They canvass the neighborhood, searching for witnesses who saw something, anything. They pull security camera footage from nearby homes. They analyze the crime scene, documenting every detail, every bullet casing, every drop of blood. And they start building a profile of who would want Isabella Scavelli dead. The answer is obvious, but obvious doesn't mean easy to prove. They identify Sheldon Robinson quickly. Witnesses place someone matching his description near the home that night. His behavior in the days following the shooting raises immediate red flags. He's nervous, evasive, making mistakes that guilty people make. But Robinson isn't talking. He's 22 years old, facing murder charges, and he knows one thing with absolute certainty. If he stays silent, they can't prove who sent him. Then, investigators discover the connection that changes everything. Robinson has a cousin, a 37-year-old cousin named Lenard White, the exact same Lenard White that Isabella reported for sexual assault the day before she was murdered. The pieces start falling into place. White's response to the investigation tells investigators everything they need to know about his involvement. He doesn't stay in Florida to cooperate with police. He doesn't express shock or grief. He doesn't offer an alibi or try to explain where he was when Isabella died. Instead, he leaves the state entirely. He travels to Georgia, putting hundreds of miles between himself and the crime scene. The message is clear, calculated. I was nowhere near Brooksville when this happened. I couldn't have been involved. I have an alibi. But being physically absent from a murder scene doesn't mean you're innocent. It just means you're smart enough not to pull the trigger yourself. It means you understand that the person who orders a hit is harder to convict than the person who carries it out. Prosecutors believe White offered his cousin $6,000 to kill Isabella. $6,000 to silence a 17-year-old girl who dared to report what he did to her. $6,000 to make sure she never testified, never told her story in court, never got the justice she deserved. And Robinson, whether motivated by money or family loyalty or some twisted combination of both, agreed to murder a teenage girl he'd never met. The investigation drags on. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. White and Robinson maintain their silence. They're not confessing. They're not cooperating. They're certainly not showing remorse. Instead, they're doing everything in their power to obstruct justice. Prosecutors discover they're systematically disposing of evidence. They're tampering with witnesses, making threats, trying to intimidate anyone who might testify against them. They're making false statements to law enforcement, creating layers of lies designed to muddy the waters and make the case impossible to prove. Even more chilling. During the investigation, White and Robinson are recorded discussing plans to kill another witness. Isabella's murder wasn't enough. Her death didn't end their willingness to use violence. Anyone who might testify against them, anyone who poses a threat to their freedom, becomes a potential target. The conspiracy isn't just about covering up one crime. It's about creating a system of fear so complete that no one dares speak up. But Isabella had already spoken, and her voice, preserved in that police report, in witness statements, in the timeline of her death, couldn't be silenced. 6 months after Isabella's murder, investigators get their breakthrough. They find the weapon. The gun used to kill Isabella Scavelli is buried in Sheldon Robinson's yard, hidden beneath dirt and debris, but not destroyed. The physical evidence that connects him directly to the shooting. The smoking gun, literally, that proves he was the killer who showed up at Isabella's door that February night. But there's something else prosecutors uncovered during the investigation. Something that makes this conspiracy even more disturbing, even more premeditated. Robinson didn't go to Isabella's house alone that night. A third person accompanied him. White wasn't just a sexual predator who ordered a hit on his victim. He was dealing drugs too. A 37-year-old man preying on teenagers, selling drugs, and orchestrating murders. Lenard White and Sheldon Robinson are arrested. They're 37 and 22 years old. One ordered the hit. One carried it out. Together, they believed they could steal Isabella's future because she had the courage to report a crime. Both men plead not guilty to every single charge. The trial begins in federal court. The U.S. Attorney's Office for Middle District of Florida presents their case piece by meticulous piece. They're not leaving anything to chance. They lay out the timeline in excruciating detail. Monday, February 6th. Isabella files her police report accusing White of sexual assault. Tuesday, February 7th, just after 11:45 p.m., Isabella is shot dead in her home. The connection is undeniable. They present evidence of White leaving Florida for Georgia immediately after the murder, establishing his carefully planned alibi. They show the $6,000 payment from White to Robinson. They present the gun, dug up from Robinson's yard 6 months later. They bring in Woods, who confesses to everything and describes exactly how the murder was planned and executed. They present evidence of systematic witness tampering, of threats made to anyone who might testify, of the conspiracy to kill again. They paint a picture of two men who genuinely believed they could get away with murdering a teenage girl because she was young, because she was vulnerable, because they thought no one would connect the dots. La Sean Pope takes the stand. You can only imagine the strength it takes for her to sit in that courtroom, to face the men who killed her daughter, to describe in detail the worst moment of her life. She describes watching Isabella die. She describes the moment bullets ripped through her own body. She describes the sound of gunfire, the smell of blood, the feeling of helplessness as her daughter collapsed. She describes losing everything in an instant because Isabella did the right thing. The defense tries to argue their case. But what defense exists for this? The timeline speaks for itself. The evidence speaks for itself. The buried gun, the confession, the $6,000 payment, the flight to Georgia. Every piece points to guilt. Most powerfully, Isabella's absence speaks loudest of all. An empty chair where a 17-year-old girl found the courage to report a sexual assault, and the system, eventually, painfully, too late, held her killers accountable. But accountability doesn't bring Isabella back. It doesn't give her the military career she dreamed about. It doesn't let her graduate high school, play another tennis match, dance and make people laugh, grow up, fall in love, have children of her own, live the life she planned. All of that was stolen on February 7th, 2023, by men who believed that $6,000 could purchase silence and that a girl's life was disposable. La Sean Pope survived her physical wounds. The bullets didn't kill her. But she has to live every day knowing her daughter died for speaking the truth. She has to carry the memory of watching Isabella fall, watching the life drain from her eyes, being powerless to save her. She has to live in a world where her daughter doesn't exist because Isabella had the courage to report a crime. January 30th, 2026. White and Robinson will return to federal court for sentencing. The judge will hand down multiple life sentences. If you want more deep dive true crime investigations like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let me know which case we should uncover next.